Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Read and Reread. I am Angelia, and today it is time for a book haul. It is a haul, y'all. I haven't done one in a couple of months. Well, I did a little one when I went to the used bookstore that's in San Antonio in the basement of the public library. But a regular old fashioned haul, it's been a little while. I did go on a book buying pause for just a little while in the summer, but I resumed. So I do have some new books to share with you today. And if I am awkward or shifting around a lot, or there are lots of cuts in here, it's because I have thrown out my back. It is a tragic tale. I threw out my back digging some junk out of a closet last, when was it? Like Thursday night. And then we were gone for the weekend and it was kind of pretty bad. And then it sort of got better. And then I somehow did something to it again. I think because I tried to exercise too soon. And so yesterday was just a misery. And today it's, I don't know, maybe like a little teeny bit better. So, but I'm going to get up every couple of books and kind of walk it off. Because if I stay too long in one spot, it gets a little harrowing. So anyway, if I look stiff and awkward, it's because I am stiff and awkward. So, but enough about that. Let's take a look at these books. And the first three books, you've already seen them because I got them specifically in time for September. I wanted to include them in my September TBR. And so I feel justified because I have read or am reading two of the three, and the other one I plan to get to before the month is out. And so first of all, we have Convenience Store Woman by Sayaka Murata, and the translator is Ginny somebody. They hid the name in here. Ginny Takemori. And it's a Japanese novel. It's quite short. It's perfect for shorty September. It's 172 pages. It's actually, there's an afterword that was added in 2018. So it's actually 163 pages. And I loved this book. I'm going to talk about it on Friday, but it was just a little piece of joy. It's about a woman named Keiko who is in her mid-30s, and she's always worked at this convenience store since she was 18. Even though she did go to college, and her family expected that she would then go out and seek some sort of full-time professional job, but she is still working at the convenience store where she feels a sense of belonging and purpose and importance. And she's an unusual person. I'm going to talk more about it on Friday, but I loved this character. I'm going to save the discussion, but this was a good purchase. I have heard some very unusual and mixed reviews of some of this author's other works, but this one was a hit. I also purchased Mammoth by Ava Baltasar and translated by Julia Sanches because I'm trying to read the three books. I read Boulder, loved Boulder, and so I want to read Mammoth and Permafrost, and they kind of form a little trio exploring some related themes. And so I haven't read this one yet, but I do plan to get to it this month. This one is about a young woman who decides to move out to the countryside, and she wants to have a child, but she does not want a partner. And that's about all I know about it. It's extremely short. It is only 103 pages. So it's barely above a novella. I don't know. I don't think there's any official cut points for these different things, but it's really short, and I am still looking forward to reading it. The other one you've already seen, I am right in the middle of, and that is The History of Sound by Ben Shattuck. Apparently, this is just his second book. His first book was a nonfiction book called 6 Walks in the Footsteps of Henry David Thoreau. These are short stories. The lead blurb here is a stunning collection of interconnected stories set in New England, exploring how the past is often misunderstood and how history, family, heartache, and desire can echo over centuries. So the interconnectedness is kind of interesting because there is a pattern that he uses called hook and chain, which is usually seen in songs and poems. The interconnectedness it's not necessarily the whole set, it's in pairs. So there's 12 stories, And every two stories, those two stories have connections. Sometimes I've seen a couple of connections that seem to ripple out a little further in throughout the stories, but mainly the hook and chain is connecting every two stories. So there's 6 pairs. And so far they are wonderful. I don't want to spend this video doing a review, but I am going to talk about this one on Friday. I think I will be done because it's very hard to put this down. And for all the short story lovers and the connected story lovers, this one is really, really good. The next one is a book that I wanted to have in time for October. And I got this Shirley Jackson collection. I'm really excited about this. This is one of these, what are they, Library of America? The only thing I don't like about these is that the pages are a little thin. I feel like I have to be super careful with them because it's highly compacted with these thin pages. But we have a number of these in our home library. And in this collection, we have The Lottery, The Haunting of Hill House, We Have Always Lived in the Castle, and a bunch of short stories and essays. I don't know, I guess they just put The Lottery on there because it's so famous, even though they didn't list all the other short stories. So I did just read The Lottery again the other day and talked about it in my last video. And last year I read We Have Always Lived in the Castle, and I really loved it. As soon as I read it, I wish that I had not gotten it from the library and that I had just bought it. So now I have it, and I plan to read The Haunting of Hill House in October. That's my spooky selection, and I think Michael and I are going to read that together. And so I needed a good copy in time, and I want to read We Have Always Lived in the Castle again sometime soon. And then I'm excited that all these short stories that I haven't even ever read are also in here. So I have it's kind of a deceptively slim volume. I guess it's those thin pages, but I have just a bounty of Shirley Jackson now at my disposal. Also for October, I got a copy of The Doctor's Wife by Mary Elizabeth Braddon. This is for the Victober group read. And if you're not familiar with Victober, it is a month-long celebration in October of Victorian literature. When I get to my October TBR, I'll talk about what I have selected for this read-along. But one of the things is the group read, because last year I read The Way We Live Now by Anthony Trollope, and that was my introduction to Trollope. It was so much fun, and so I decided to participate again, and this year's book is The Doctor's Wife. When The Doctor's Wife was first published in 1864, Mary Elizabeth Braddon was well known for her scandalous bestseller, Lady Audley's Secret. Adultery, death, and the spectacle of female recrimination and suffering are the elements that combine to make The Doctor's Wife a classic women's sensation novel. Yet it is also Braddon's most self-consciously literary work and her rewriting of Madame Bovary. Like Emma Bovary, Braddon's heroine, Isabel Gilbert, is trapped in a marriage to a man incapable of understanding her imaginative life. But Braddon's novel differs vastly from Flaubert's in the nature and consequence of Isabel's affair. Woo! Woo! Okay, I think that's going to be a good one. The next one, I have succumbed to the many, many exhortations of Melinda at a Web of Stories that she has shouted out this book many times and suggested that everybody should get a copy. So I did, and it is Never Whistle at Night. It is an indigenous dark fiction anthology. So I might even cheat and start reading it in October because that's giving me spooky vibes. But I specifically got it for November for reading books by indigenous authors, and I will get a whole bunch all in one volume. And so this is going to circle back to authors I already know and introduce a whole bunch of new ones to me. I see Waubgeshig Rice. I see Tommy Orange. I see Rebecca Roanhorse. I see Nick Medina. I see a whole bunch of people I've never heard of. So I'm super, super jazzed to read Never Whistle at Night. And on the back it says, A bold, clever, and sublimely sinister collection that dares to ask the question, are you ready to be unsettled? And it says, many indigenous people believe that one should never whistle at night. It can cause spirits, evil spirits, to appear and even follow you home. These wholly original and shiver-inducing tales introduce readers to ghosts, curses, hauntings, monstrous creatures, complex family legacies, desperate deeds, and chilling acts of revenge. All right, so there is a strong possibility that this book will not stay in its November slot and will creep backwards into October. The next one is in preparation for a group read. I was invited to participate in a reading project, reading the most recent 3 books by Claudia Pineiro. So starting with Elena Knows, which will be a reread, and then A Little Luck, and then Time of the Flies. Look at this cover with a dead fly in a jar. So this one's thicker than the other 2, and this was the one I did not yet have. So now I have everything I need for this reading project. All 3 of them were translated by Frances Riddle from Spanish. She's an Argentinian author. And the description, if I just walked into a bookstore and just had never heard of Claudia Pineiro and I saw this book sitting on a table and then I read this description, I would still be buying this book because, listen up. 15 years after killing her husband's lover, Inez is released from prison and left to put together a new life. Her old friend Maka is out too, and together they've started a pest control and private investigation business by women for women. Sold. The book is sold. But Senora Bonar, one of her clients, wants Inez to do more than kill bugs. She wants her expertise and her criminal past to help her get revenge on someone. I think revenge has come up in about 3 books I've mentioned so far. And I'm not going to read the rest of the blurb because it looks a little spoilery, but does that not sound fantastic? I cannot wait to read this. And then another one that I got that I need in time for November. Yes, need. That's what I said. Okay, and wait, I have to just show you something. I sought out this book, and this is Melinda again, because she has this book and she has shown it multiple times. And I really love, and every year I read the story Christmas Memory by Truman Capote. And I just read it out of an anthology that I have of just all kinds of other fiction. But I saw this beautiful little volume, and it has another Christmas story and a Thanksgiving story also by Truman Capote that I've never read. So I decided I would treat myself to a copy of this book for my holiday reading. So I got it on Thrift Books, and yes, I know you're saying, Angelia, every haul you complain about Thrift Books sending you different editions. And okay, so they did it again. I'm not upset about this one, but I was expecting this, but I got a different one, and it's actually a nice little volume, but it's just completely different. So I got this one with a rather pensive child on the front, which I guess kind of fits. This picture's a detail from a painting called Boy and Woman in an Interior by Paul Matthey. But I guess they cut the woman out and all we get is the boy. It is in excellent condition. It's a modern library edition. Nice end papers. And it does have the 3 stories. And it also did the same thing that she mentioned, was putting them in backwards order. Like, why is the Thanksgiving story not first, followed by Christmas? But of course, I can't be tamed, and I'll read them in any order that I wish. So anyway, I was just so surprised when I opened it and it wasn't the pine cones, but I'm happy with this. This next book is a BookTube Made Me Do It. I heard about this book a few different times, and I think, if memory serves me, I think this author actually appeared on Sean Breed's books. I'm pretty sure. But then I heard a review more recently where Ros and Tilly were talking about that in their segment from Scallydandling about the books and Tilly's Bookshelf. And they occasionally do a video where they talk about a book together. And this one just, it sort of brought it back into my mind after it caught my attention before. And so I did get a copy, and I haven't read it yet, but it's Small Joys by Elvin James Mensah. I'll put the Ros and Tilly video in the description if you want to hear them talk about it. And they're very careful. They don't spoil the ending, but they give you a good sense of what the book was about. And in what ways they enjoyed it. And so it sounds like a book, one of those ones that is stemming from trauma and sadness, something joyful emerges. It says it's 2005. Harley has dropped out of college to move home back to rural England, where he works a dead-end job at a movie theater. Estranged from his father and finding every attempt at happiness futile, Harley's on the verge of making a devastating final decision. Fortunately for him, things don't go according to plan, and his attempt on his own life is interrupted by his new roommate, Muddy. And then it goes on and talks about a bunch of other people. I think that happens pretty much at the beginning of the book, that he is considering or attempting suicide, and the roommate intervenes. So if that is a topic that is not something that you should read about right now, then probably bypass this book. So I think it's about a group of friends and find the family and community. And to me, it sounds like, I mean, there's some other books that have sort of walked through these topics where somebody is kind of at the end of their rope and considering making drastic choices, and then somehow they are diverted from that path. And sometimes those kind of books can be kind of maudlin or sappy, and this one is not. It's actually realistic and affirming and uplifting in non-cheesy ways. So that's why I want to read it. I'm hoping for good things when I get to this book. And I like the cover too. All right. The next one is pretty random, but I got Bewilderment by Richard Powers. It was in the clearance bin at Half Price Books for $3, and it's a really nice copy. It looks brand new to me. I have not read anything by Richard Powers. He is frequently appears on the Booker list. He's on it this year for his new book that either just came out or still hasn't even come out. And most of the time, when I hear about his books, I think I really need to try one. But then I never know where to start, because most of them are exceptionally lengthy and the subject matter just gives me pause. A super intense long book about trees. I don't know if this new one about the ocean is also really, really long, but I just don't feel convinced that I'm going to like one of his books. Some people just love him, but then when I hear the description of the book, I think, for real, is that actually going to be a good read? I have heard that this could be a good place to start. It's also thinner, and it just sounded pretty good. So I picked it up. I thought it's a pretty low risk investment here, and maybe I'll love it. The astrobiologist, Theo Byrne, searches for life throughout the cosmos while single-handedly raising his unusual 9-year-old Robin following the death of his wife. Robin is a warm, kind boy who spends hours painting elaborate pictures of endangered animals. He's also about to be expelled from 3rd grade for smashing his friend in the face. As his son grows more troubled, Theo hopes to keep him off psychoactive drugs. He learns of an experimental neurofeedback treatment to bolster Robin's emotional control, one that involves training the boy on the recorded patterns of his mother's brain. But then down at the very bottom of the blurb it says, how can we tell our children the truth about this beautiful imperiled planet? And that's a sense I get, is that he always has issues about the planet and the earth that appear. Is it climate fiction? I'm not sure. Is it science fiction? Is it speculative? An experimental neurofeedback treatment? I don't know how. I don't know where we're at here in this description. It starts out sounding very just straight up kind of sad but realistic, about a father trying to figure out how to best help his son, but then it starts sounding a little weird. So who's read it? Somebody tell me something. When I was in San Antonio this past weekend, we went to a Barnes & Noble that is in the area where my daughter's now living. We had given her and her boyfriend gift cards because they both have September birthdays. We got them a book and gift cards, and they wanted to use them right away. So we went to this big 2-story Barnes & Noble that is in the La Cantera shopping center. If you're familiar with San Antonio, it's just a nice outdoor mall, and I found a book that I've been looking for about a year. Now, it's available to order, but I wanted to see it in person because it's a cookbook, and I like to look at a cookbook and see if I like it. I want to see the photos, I want to see the instructions, I want to see the ingredients list, I want to feel the paper. So I'm kind of picky about cookbooks, and so I've been on the lookout for this one, and it hasn't been in any bookstores, but I found it at that Barnes and Noble, and it is The Essential Book of Vegan Bakes by Holly Jade. I think this is a UK writer based on some of the ways that things are described in the recipes. But this one kind of had me at the big end paper of chocolate frosting, and oh my gosh, the stuff in here looks really good. I haven't had a Victoria sponge cake since I worked in a British tea room, not in Great Britain. I worked in a British tea room in Fredericksburg, Virginia in the 80s when I was in college. Here's a carrot cake. Stephen loves carrot cake, so I should try that one. Ooh, chocolate lava cakes. Oh my gosh. It's got one of my, my baking Mount Everests is in here. I love it when they have to do Swiss rolls on the British baking show, which is about to start up again, but I've always been too scared to try to make one. There's just a lot of really lovely things in here. Oh, here's something else Stephen loves, cinnamon rolls. So anyway, there's a whole lot of fun things to try. It fits in absolutely not with my fitness, and I don't think it's going to help me at all with any of that, but it's going to be fun. And then the last two are things that I pre-ordered that have arrived, and I have just been, I've been doing reading projects all year to get ready for these books, so you've been hearing about them. So Tell Me Everything by Elizabeth Strout. I'm going to read this really, really soon. And I read my way back through all of the Lucy Barton and Olive Kitteridge books because the two women are going to meet up in this new novel. Here's a little bit about what it's about. It's autumn in Maine, and the town lawyer Bob Burgess has become enmeshed in an unfolding murder investigation, defending a lonely, isolated man accused of killing his mother. He's also fallen into a deep and abiding friendship with the acclaimed writer Lucy Barton, who lives down the road in a house by the sea with her ex-husband, William. So we talk about Lucy and Bob, how they go on walks and they become close friends. And Lucy is finally introduced to the iconic Olive Kitteridge, now living in a retirement community on the edge of town. The two spend afternoons together in Olive's apartment telling each other stories. Stories about people they have known, unrecorded lives, Olive calls them, reanimating them, and in the process imbuing their lives with meaning. I can't wait. And then, last but not least, my Kate Atkinson book is here. Oh, look at this cover. Death at the Sign of the Rook, a Jackson Brodie book. Jackson Brodie is back. Is this number 6? Number 7? I don't know. I read them all over again this year. And this one kind of sounds like a closed room mystery. Ex-detective Jackson Brodie is staving off a bad case of midlife malaise, aren't we all, when he is called to a sleepy Yorkshire town and the seemingly tedious matter of a stolen painting. Well, that's not tedious. I'm all about art theft. In a book, not in my personal pursuits. But Jackson soon uncovers a string of unsolved art thefts that lead him down a dizzying spiral of disguise and deceit to Burton Makepeace, a formerly magnificent estate now partially converted to a hotel hosting murder mystery weekends. As paying guests, impecunious aristocrats and old friends collide, we are treated to Atkinson's most charming and fiendishly clever mystery yet, one that pays homage to the masters of the genre, from Agatha Christie and Dorothy Sayers to the modern era of Knives Out and Only Murders in the Building. Okay, I heard lots of things to like. It sounds fun. The old friends better include Louise, but I don't have my fingers crossed because she's been teasing on that character the past couple of books. I'm hoping for Louise, but it's probably Reggie, but I like her too. So this just looks really fun. It's kind of short. Atkinson varies in length, and this one's about 300 pages, but it just looks like really good fall fun. So there you have it. What do you think about my haul? Which of these books sound good to you, or you have already read them, or whatever you want to tell me? I appreciate all of your comments, and I will be back on Friday for Friday Reads, and I will get a little deeper into a couple of these books. So I'll see you then. Bye-bye.